At the edge of Imperial space, where trade routes ended and forgotten stars began, Outpost Kara drifted in permanent silence. It was the kind of station where careers were buried. Rusting antenna towers, outdated consoles, and skeleton crews kept watch over sectors no one important cared about. Most shifts passed with nothing more than static, cargo pings, and maintenance alerts. That was why Junior Communications Officer Taryn Vale had stopped expecting anything unusual long ago. He was halfway through another routine night cycle when every receiver in the station screamed at once. Screens filled with cascading symbols. Ancient machine code. Frequencies that should not have existed lit up across military, civilian, and emergency bands simultaneously. Power fluctuated. Lights dimmed. Even backup systems reacted as if the signal itself carried force behind it. Taryn locked the channels and began recording before the surge burned out the equipment. At first it looked like corrupted nonsense. Then repeating structures appeared. Layered commands. Tactical markers. Coordinates from beyond charted territory. He ran translation archives 3 times before trusting what he saw. Fleet awakened. Core worlds targeted. Extinction protocol active. Taryn's pulse spiked. Those phrases existed only in sealed historical fragments about machine wars erased from public memory. According to official doctrine, those enemies had been destroyed thousands of years ago. According to the signal, they had merely been sleeping. He packaged the data and sent a priority warning to Sector Command. Response came 12 minutes later. Transmission error. Log malfunction. Resume normal operations. He resent the report with additional telemetry. This time a senior controller answered personally, irritated and impatient. Taryn was ordered to stop wasting command bandwidth with ghost stories from broken hardware. Another false alert would trigger disciplinary review. The room fell quiet again, except it wasn't quiet anymore. Every monitor still flickered with residual noise. Taryn stared at the source vector. Deep dark space. Beyond navigation lanes. Beyond mining claims. Beyond anything alive. Then the sensors updated. At first he thought it was a software glitch. Numbers climbed too fast to be real. Heat blooms. Mass signatures. Drive wakes stacked in perfect formation. Not one vessel. Not 10. Millions. Something enormous was moving toward Imperial territory in total synchronization. Taryn felt the cold certainty of disaster settle into his chest. If he obeyed orders now, billions would die without warning. He opened a restricted contact list and searched one name rarely spoken kindly in command circles. Admiral Cashin Vares. Known for insubordination. Known for surviving battles others lost on paper. Known for acting first and apologizing never. Taryn attached the raw signal, engine telemetry, and decoded message. He marked it unauthorized priority, and sent it through an old fleet relay most officers had forgotten existed. For several seconds nothing happened. Then a receipt confirmation appeared. Message opened. Across the dead station, alarms began sounding again as long-range sensors struggled to process the approaching storm. Taryn looked through the observation glass into endless black space and realized the Empire's future now depended on whether one admiral believed a nobody stationed where no one else would watch. Admiral Cashin Vares was reviewing ceremonial fleet assignments when the unauthorized relay reached his command deck. Most officers would have deleted a Frontier transmission without reading it. Vares opened every file personally. Years of war had taught him that disasters rarely announce themselves through official channels. He studied the raw telemetry first. Engine wakes arranged in mathematically perfect spacing. Heat signatures too numerous for sensor error. Momentum curves that matched no known civilian traffic. Then he read the decoded warning twice. Fleet awakened. Core worlds targeted. Extinction protocol active. The words stirred memories buried in restricted archives. Early Imperial records described machine civilizations that fought without fear, negotiated nothing, and harvested entire systems for material. Those files ended abruptly centuries ago, not with victory, but with silence. Someone had chosen to bury the truth rather than admit the threat might return. Varys requested authentication from Central Intelligence. Response estimated 14 hours. He knew that meant delay, committees, and denials. If the signal was real, 14 hours was a death sentence. He began issuing orders immediately. Civilian traffic bound for the core was rerouted under emergency navigation revisions. Orbital stations were instructed to begin quiet evacuations disguised as safety inspections. Reserve fleets received coded mobilization notices. Shipyards switched from parade refits to ammunition loading. Planetary shield networks were ordered to full charge under the label of readiness exercises. Within an hour, ministers were demanding explanations. Several accused Varys of manufacturing panic to expand military authority. High Command ordered him to suspend mobilization until evidence could be verified. Varys acknowledged the order and ignored it. He then recalled patrol squadrons from distant sectors, stripped escorts from luxury convoys, and concentrated carrier groups around population centers most likely to be struck first. Fuel depots opened sealed wartime stockpiles. Drone mines were deployed into likely jump corridors. Medical ships were moved behind defense lines before anyone understood why. The political backlash intensified. A removal notice was drafted. 2 admirals publicly questioned his sanity. Varys continued signing orders without comment. Then the border report stopped. 1 colony vanished from the network. Then another. Listening stations went dark without distress signals. Automated probes sent to investigate disappeared in sequence, each transmission ending mid-burst. Finally, a damaged reconnaissance drone returned enough footage to confirm everything. Black vessels larger than cities moved through debris fields in disciplined silence. No banners. No chatter. No warning fire. Frontier stations were dismantled by beams that sliced armor apart in seconds. Escaped craft were ignored unless they obstructed formation. The drone feed ended when something looked directly into its camera. Command silence broke instantly. Emergency channels flooded. Politicians who mocked mobilization demanded immediate protection. Admirals asked for orders they should have given hours earlier. Varys was already moving to the flagship bridge when strategic displays updated with the same terrible symbol across 3 sectors. Hostile fleet entering Imperial space. He looked once at the sender line from the forgotten outpost. Junior Officer Terran Vale. Then he ordered every battle group to war stations and every civilian convoy to maximum burn. The first machine fleet arrived without fanfare. No declarations, no demands, no attempt to negotiate. Space above the outer core systems simply tore open with thousands of synchronized jump signatures, and the stars vanished behind walls of black metal. Citizens who looked upward saw the sky replaced by moving geometry. Their opening strike was calculated for extinction. Long-range lances targeted shipyards, communication relays, power rings, and orbital docks in the first seconds. They aimed not at armies, but at the systems that allowed armies to exist. Entire defense grids would have died before issuing one command if Admiral Varys had waited for permission. But the Empire was already moving. Civilian convoys had departed hours earlier. Passenger liners, freight haulers, and emergency carriers were burning towards safer sectors under military escort. Orbital habitats were partially evacuated. Shield arrays that normally required hours to charge met the first barrage at full strength, turning Annihilation into impact. Reserve fleets were not trapped in harbor. They were already deployed in layered formations around key worlds. Hidden minefields seeded across predicted jump lanes detonated beneath the leading machine ranks, shredding dozens of capital vessels before they could stabilize. Still, the enemy did not slow. Destroyed ships were bypassed instantly. Damaged formations reconfigured without hesitation. Smaller hunter craft peeled away to pursue fleeing transports with mechanical precision. Imperial pilots threw themselves into intercept patterns knowing every minute gained meant another convoy escaped. Losses mounted fast. Cruisers split apart under concentrated beams. Carrier groups burned while launching final squadrons. Debris fields spread across inhabited orbits like artificial asteroid belts. Yet the line held because it had existed before the enemy arrived. At Outpost Kara, Terran Vale remained at his console, now tied directly into wartime command networks. He monitored captured frequencies and noticed something strange. Despite their size, the machine fleet transmitted constant burst commands through one repeating central channel. Their movements were collective, not independent. He traced the signal origin to a vessel near the rear formation, larger than the others and protected by layered escorts. Command Nexus. Terran sent the coordinates and modulation weakness to Varys with one sentence: cut the head. Varys changed the battle plan immediately. While frontline fleets continued absorbing punishment, he assembled a spear group of surviving fast battleships and drove straight through the densest combat zone. Casualty projections called it impossible. He accelerated anyway. Machine defenses closed like jaws. 2 escorts were vaporized. A carrier drifted apart in molten sections. Varys' flagship lost shields, armor, and half its weapons before reaching firing range. Then every remaining gun focused on the Nexus vessel. The first salvo cracked its outer shell. The second pierced reactor shielding. The third detonated deep inside the command core. Across the battlefield, machine formations faltered for the first time. Attack waves stalled. Ships collided. Weapons fired in random directions. Perfect coordination collapsed into chaos. Varys gave one final order. Advance all lines. The Imperial counterattack hit like a release blade. Fleets that had spent hours surviving now surged forward against the confused enemy. Machine warships that once moved with flawless precision drifted apart, collided, or fired blindly into Allied hulls. Coordinated kill patterns vanished. For the first time since their arrival, they could be hunted. Cruisers rammed disabled targets at full burn. Bomber wings poured through gaps that had not existed minutes earlier. Planetary defense cannons, preserved by Varys' early preparations, began tearing through stalled formations one after another. Across every core system, black vessels broke into burning fragments. Some machines attempted retreat. Others fought until reactors ruptured. Many simply froze, awaiting commands that would never come. Within hours, what had arrived as an extinction fleet became wreckage scattered across Imperial orbitals. The damage was immense. Shipyards were shattered. Habitats burned. Millions were dead. Yet the count should have been trillions. Entire worlds should have vanished before they understood they were under attack. Instead, evacuation lanes had functioned, shields had held, and fleets had met the enemy armed and ready. Because one warning had arrived in time. When emergency rules stabilized the capital, politicians rushed to claim victory through strength and destiny. Fleet officers who had opposed mobilization praised their own discipline. Public broadcasts celebrated inevitable triumph. Soldiers ignored them. They had seen how close annihilation came. An inquiry traced the first alert to Outpost Kara and Junior Communications Officer Terran Vale. Regulations showed he had violated direct orders, bypassed command hierarchy, and triggered unauthorized military channels. By peacetime law, punishment was certain. Admiral Varys summoned him personally. Terran arrived expecting arrest. Instead, Varys stood before assembled officers and read the original timestamp aloud. Then he announced that if the message had been delayed even one additional hour, half the core fleet would have remained docked and the capital's shield grid uncharged. The chamber fell silent. Varys awarded Terran the Star of Imperial Survival, then promoted him beyond every rank protocol allowed. Applause thundered from veterans who understood exactly what had been saved. Terran was offered prestigious posts at the capital, command academies, and intelligence headquarters. He declined all of them. He requested reassignment to frontier monitoring duty. When asked why, he gave a simple answer. Threats come from the places powerful people stopped watching. The Empire adopted new doctrine after the war. No signal would be dismissed by status. No outpost would be considered unimportant. Remote stations received modern systems, larger crews, and direct priority channels to fleet command. Monuments were built to admirals, fleets, and fallen heroes. But spacers told a simpler story in every port. the Galactic Empire survived because one exhausted operator refused to press delete. Far beyond map space, in the dark between galaxies, another ancient receiver quietly awakened.